Welcome to the Teaching Kitchen at Dave's Market in Midtown Cleveland. My name is Juliana Blischak, and I'm a registered dietitian with Sodexo at University Hospitals.
Hi, I'm Anthony Verona. I'm the culinary director for the health system with Sodexo with UH as well.
All right, in today's cooking demonstration, we are going to be making salmon salad sandwiches with sweet potato cottage fries. And while we're at it, we're going to dive into the topic of fats, discussing their role in the body as well as their role in cooking. So we hear about fat all the time, whether it's being praised as the ultimate key to health in the keto diet or being completely villainized in other fad diets. So what are we supposed to do with all this contradictory information? Let's talk about the facts. Fat is one of three macronutrients, the others being protein and carbohydrates. Fat gives us energy, supports cell growth, keeps the body warm, and allows our bodies to absorb certain vitamins. Apart from all that, it also has another important role. In cooking, fat lends to the flavor and contributes to the texture of a dish, which adds to the overall satisfaction of the eating experience. Speaking of eating, Chef Tony, what can you tell us about this recipe?
Well, first I can say I'm really cooking here today, so bear with me. I got this on broil down here. I don't have a toaster, so I'm broiling my bread for the sandwich. What'd you ask me?
About the recipe.
Okay, so today's recipe is a salmon salad, right? Non-traditional, kind of like tuna salad. I hate to say that, but it's a salmon salad ALT, so avocado, lettuce, and tomato. Now, the L is going to change to S today because I'm going to use spinach instead of lettuce, just because I wasn't very happy with the lettuce selection. So that's a good segue to recipes, is that, look, if the recipe says lettuce and you don't like lettuce, or you don't like head lettuce or whatever it is, but you like spinach or kale, no big deal to substitute it. We're not baking a cake here, right? So it doesn't really matter if we add a little bit more, a little bit less. I mean, on the fat side and sodium, of course, but with vegetables, it's not really a big deal. We just did a video earlier, and I have a cucumber. I think I'm going to add a little bit of cucumber today to it. So not a big deal. That's not going to add any nutritional value up or down, right?
I'd say it's a plus, right?
Yeah, it's
the more
a plus.
veggies, the better.
More veggies. So let's start with the sweet potato cottage fries. I did some earlier. I'm going to show you. Sweet potatoes are full of water, right? I don't know if you ever noticed, but they're hard to get crispy. If you go to a restaurant and get sweet potato fries, typically those fries are a manufactured product. They got all this coating on the outside, and they deep fry them, and of course they're going to be good and delicious because, you know, as Juliana said, the fat is how that mouthfeel is and that sensation. But we can make this at home healthier and just as delicious. Now, I prefer these flat cottage fries. So a cottage fries is like a sliced potato rather than a wedge. I think the wedge doesn't get as crispy. I'm going to show you these here in a minute, and they're very nice and crispy. Sorry, I'm just turning my oven on right. So what did I do? I scrubbed this potato, I cut the ends off, and I'm just going to show you how to cut it, how to season it, throw it on a sheet tray, but I already have some made just due to time. So what I like to do is cut these, I don't know, what is that, a 1/4 inch? Less than a 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch. You don't want them too thick, because then they won't get as crispy. You could do this on a machine, but a knife is pretty good. Less cleanup. So I'm just going to cut these in 1/4 inches. You don't want them too thin, because I say that they're fries, they're not chips, right? So you want them somewhat crispy. A sweet potato is never going to be like a French fry, right? It's always going to have a little bit of limpness to it. That's just the way it is. But wish you were here, if you could taste those, the texture of them is really good. So it works out pretty good. So some of those potatoes in there. Look, just a tad bit of oil. That's a teaspoon, if that. And I made a little bit of spice, this granulated garlic, granulated onion, some black pepper, and some salt. Real simple. I'm going to season that up. Didn't put a lot in there. Toss these around. Get them evenly coated. And the thing about this, put this in a 375-degree oven. You want to make this one level, one layer. You don't want to just do this, okay? That's no good. You want to make these one level. You want as much contact surface with the metal pan as possible. Don't use parchment paper, foil, anything. You want that direct heat on the bottom of the pan. And again, when you cut them this way, all that surface area, now they're going to be awesome and caramelized. So we're going to put this in the oven, let those roast. And I might as well show you the final product since we got them here. But we're going to plate this up in a minute with the sandwich. So look, some of the, that one's a little crispy, but you can feel some, see how that's a little pliable? But they're delicious, they're caramelized. That's the way to go. They do sell those sweet potato fries in the supermarket, but you don't need it. Easy. One, whole ingredients, whole foods, right? The reason they don't put a label of ingredients on sweet potatoes is because there's only one ingredient, sweet potato, right? Okay, let's get to the salmon salad. In here, we're gonna have salmon. Now, in the recipe, it says canned salmon. Well, guess what? I had some leftover salmon from a party last night that we did. Why not? Why not utilize it? So this was a whole Atlantic salmon that we trimmed up, but no big deal. Canned salmon is perfectly fine. Is there a lot of sodium in that? Should you watch for that?
Yeah, I think it's just something to be mindful of. You know, read the label before you buy.
So, I mean, canned salmon's readily available anywhere. I don't want to discourage you from making this, but look, I had leftover salmon. Why not, okay? So, if you've ever made tuna salad before, pickles, pretty traditional stuff. I'm gonna add a little bit of onion in here. Again, just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of flavor. Just do a little bit of cut here. Fine dice, you don't want big chunks of onion in your salad, but you do want a little bit of that sharpness in there, so give it just a little bit of rough chop, and we're going to put that in there, okay? Now you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, here comes the mayonnaise. Nope, we're going to do a little bit of pickle. We're going to go with a little bit of pepper. The pickles have some salt on it. Obviously they're brine, so we're going to put a little bit of salt in there. Okay, now, low-fat yogurt. Tuna salad, salmon salad, something like that typically has mayonnaise in it, full-fat mayonnaise. I took low-fat Greek yogurt, I put it in a strainer, I let it sit. We've been here at Dave's downtown or Midtown for about an hour. I got here at 7, it's like 8:15, 8:30. I put this in this strainer, and look at all this liquid that came out. I don't know if you can see that, Robert, but I mean, that's probably what, a cup of liquid, right? So what's that gonna do? If I was gonna add this into my tuna salad right now, it might make the tuna or the salmon salad, it might make it a little bit looser. I do this, anytime I'm gonna use this as an ingredient, as a spread or something like that, we're actually gonna use this 2 ways here in a minute. But we're gonna use this as a substitute for mayonnaise, low fat, got a little bit of tang to it. So just a great substitute. Again, straining it's the key. It's gonna make it a little bit thicker. Okay. Add a little bit of, I don't want this to be a, I want the salmon to shine here. So pickles, onion, a little bit of salt and pepper. All right, now this is the salmon salad. Look, you see what I'm doing? I'm folding. I'm not mixing real crazy. I'm just folding this in. You see how I'm turning the bowl and I'm folding it in? I want those chunks, right? If you're gonna have this salmon, and I had leftover salmon, maybe the canned salmon might already be a little, mashed up and not as flaky, but look at this. I want this to be as chunky as possible, right? Let's highlight that salmon, and you can see I'm just folding this. If you're making crab cakes, same thing. If you're using lump crab in the kitchen, I don't want to mash all those pieces up. And you can see I still got some nice chunks of salmon in there, right? And it's light. There's not a ton of dressing. Okay, next we're gonna make a chipotle mayo. What is chipotles? Anybody know what a chipotle is? Anybody? No. Okay, so chipotle, this thing was like $2. What's a chipotle? It's a smoked jalapeno, okay? So in Latin cuisine, Mexican cuisine, it's like an ancho pepper. Has anybody heard of an ancho pepper before? Ancho pepper is a smoked poblano pepper. So it's smoked and dried, and then it's packed in this adobo sauce. Low in sodium, low in fat, zero fat, hardly any sodium, tons and tons packed full of flavor, tons. So a smoked jalapeno. This jar or this can, I'll probably have it for a year at my house. So what do you do with this? Tell you what I do. I have a little vac machine, that sucks the air out, but put each one of these little peppers, if you can see, it looks like a jalapeno. It just looks really dried and pruny and stuff. So there's probably 15 or 20 of these. Put each one in a little Ziploc, freeze it with a little bit of this adobo juice, and then take one out as you need it. Easy. It's already so mashed up and it's not really cooked. I guess it is. It's smoked. So I took a half of one, just chopped it up with a knife. These can be a little spicy, so just be wary of that. And I'm going to take a little bit of that yogurt again. I'm going to mix it in here. Oops. Watch what look at this color. Look at this makes it. Now you got a chipotle mayonnaise, mock mayonnaise, that has basically no fat in it. Low fat. You could use fat-free if you wanted to. Or full fat, whatever you want. But now there you go. I'm going to add just a little bit of pepper and just a little bit of salt. Now this is going to be our spread for our salmon. Okay. Let's make our sandwich.
Okay.
I'm going to get a plate here. And again, remember what I said. I'm using spinach instead of, let me get my best, okay, toasted one here. This looks good. All right, 100% whole grain, not 100% whole wheat. What's the difference, whole grain, whole wheat?
So you'll see a lot of different things on labels. You want to look for the 100% whole wheat because that means it's truly 100%. You might see wheat,
right,
grain, all sorts of different things, but yeah, you want to look for the 100% whole wheat.
Okay, a little bit of that spread. We're going to add some here in a minute. Where's my spinach? Where's my spinach? Here's my spinach. Where I got this inspiration for this sandwich is I worked in country clubs for years, and we used to sell a blackened salmon sandwich that had thick cut bacon on it and all this mayonnaise, and it was mind-blowing. But that was the inspiration for me for this, is like, okay, we don't need bacon, but we can lighten this up a lot and make it a little bit healthier. I would eat that thing every day, and it was awesome. Remember what I said before? I want a little bit of cucumber in there, and in this case, I want this cucumber paper thin. You don't want to be biting into a big one. Look at that. If you can't do it with a knife, look at that, paper thin. You just need a few, okay? So I'm gonna pile this on. I have some tomato, cut in half. And lastly, I'm going to add some avocado. Remember, avocado browns real quick, but this is a sandwich, so it's going to be eaten real quick. So I'm just going to take a little bit of slice. You can see how nice and ripe this is. Avocado is everywhere nowadays. A little bit of avocado. You want to talk about healthy fat, right? Oh, avocado, come on. Okay. Pile that on. Tons of veggies. And now, let me make sure I put everything on there. I do. And here's my salmon salad. And I'm going to just take this and, I don't want it to fall off. Get that in there nice and tight. It's kind of like a structure. Add just a little bit more. With this, when my wife makes something real healthy, she calls it pig out food. You just eat as much as you want because it's healthy for you. Okay. Wipe this knife clean. I'm a big fan of cutting this real neat. Make sure everything's tucked in. And what I like to do is fan that out like that. And I'm almost done here. I'm going to take these cottage fries, pile these on. It's probably a little bit more than a portion, but all right. Wipe my hand a little. I didn't miss anything. How's that look?
All right, I'm super excited about this recipe because it includes a variety of delicious sources of healthy fat. Now let's talk a little bit about the different types of fat. All fats are comprised of unsaturated and saturated fatty acids. Generally, fats high in unsaturated fat come from plants, with some exceptions, and fats high in saturated fat come from animals. Think dairy and red meat. So saturated fat increases our cholesterol. That's why it's recommended that we focus mainly on including unsaturated fatty acids, which help to improve our cholesterol. Maybe you've heard a little bit about the different types of unsaturated fat: monounsaturated and polyunsaturated. The avocado and the olive oil that we use today are great sources of monounsaturated fat, and the salmon's a great source of polyunsaturated fat. Polyunsaturated fat is considered essential, meaning that our bodies cannot make it. We have to get it from our food. This includes the omega-6 and the omega-3 fats that we see so often on food labels and hear about. Salmon, as well as sardines, walnuts, canola oil. Those are great sources of the omega-3s, whereas omega-6 can be found in corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower seeds, and much more. Now, what about trans fat? I didn't forget about trans fat. Trans fat is found in margarine, it's found in baked goods, fried foods. It increases our cholesterol levels. Most of it, although it can be found naturally, most of it is actually artificially made. Fun fact, in 2015, the FDA began the process of requiring food manufacturers in the US to discontinue the use of partially hydrogenated oil, which is one of the main sources of trans fat. So, just a few more things to consider. I'm gonna throw it out there. All over the world, different cultures utilize different fats, which lends to that signature flavor of their culture. So, where a dish originated is a great way to, or a good thing to consider when you're choosing a fat. And so is the smoke point of the oil, or the temperature at which it begins to smoke, because some fats are gonna hold up to heat better than others. But really the big takeaway here, certain fats, specifically those unsaturated fats, are gonna be best for our heart. So, eating at home can be a great way to be mindful of the fat we eat versus eating out. Experiment with different cooking methods. Sauteing, broiling, boiling, baking are all great ways to cook that are going to utilize less fat than something like deep fat frying. But just remember, fat does not need to be the enemy. It's an important, essential ingredient in cooking, and it's an essential ingredient in the human body.
Just one last thing what Juliana brought up is the trans fats. We don't use any trans fats in any of our UH hospitals. It's something that we've just eliminated altogether. So we're really proud of that. We're not feeding our patients, anybody in our cafeterias, any trans fat. So just wanted to add that in. So what'd you learn today? You learned how to get those sweet potatoes nice and crispy. We taught you how to reduce your amount of fat and sodium in your tuna or your salmon salad. We talked about using different items in your recipe that if you don't like or do like. And we just showed you a great little salmon ALT we're calling, avocado, lettuce, and tomato sandwich with 100% whole grain and sweet potato cottage fries. So thanks for joining us.